What if everything you've been taught about wealth is incomplete? What if poverty is not simply the absence of money and riches not the presence of it? In today's world, wealth is measured in numbers: GDP, net worth, stock prices, and market dominance. Poverty is reduced to income lines and statistics. Governments promise growth, corporations promise jobs. Individuals chase success through hustle, leverage, and accumulation. Yet despite unprecedented global wealth, anxiety is rising, debt is exploding, and more people than ever feel financially trapped. Nearly 1,000 years ago, one man looked at money, markets, and human desire and reached a conclusion that still unsettles economists today. Welcome to its financial history too. His name was Imam Abu Hamid Al-Ghazali. He asked a question modern economics still struggles to answer. Can a society become richer while its people become poorer? That question is the mystery at the heart of this story. How did a medieval scholar, long before banks, stock exchanges, and fiat currencies, diagnose problems that now dominate our world? And why do his ideas feel disturbingly modern? To understand this, we must return to a time when wealth itself was being redefined. Al-Ghazali was born in 1058 in Tus, in present-day Iran, during the height of the Islamic Golden Age. This was not a primitive or anti-commercial world. Trade networks spanned continents, markets were sophisticated. Contracts, partnerships, credit systems, and profit-sharing arrangements were common. Economic activity was vibrant, dynamic, and deeply integrated into daily life. Wealth mattered, power mattered, and scholars played a central role in shaping how society understood money and morality. Al-Ghazali rose rapidly through this world. He became a leading jurist, philosopher, and theologian, eventually appointed as a professor at the prestigious Nizamiya Madrasa in Baghdad. This was the academic and intellectual center of the Muslim world. With this position came influence, income, prestige, and security. By all outward measures, Al-Ghazali had made it. Then something unexpected happened. He walked away. No scandal. No political purge. No loss of status. Instead, he experienced a profound internal crisis, one that forced him to question not only knowledge and faith, but the very structure of success itself. At the heart of that crisis was a disturbing realization. People who had enough still felt poor. Merchants accumulated wealth but lived in fear of loss. Scholars gained recognition but feared irrelevance. Rulers controlled treasuries yet remained anxious and restless. The pursuit of wealth promised security but delivered unease. Al-Ghazali began asking a dangerous question. If wealth exists to bring stability and well-being, why does it so often produce anxiety, rivalry, and emptiness? This question pushed him to examine money at its core. He concluded that money has no intrinsic value. Gold and silver cannot nourish you. They cannot shelter you. Their worth exists only because society agrees to treat them as a medium of exchange. Money is a tool, not a goal. That idea may sound obvious today, but in his era it was radical. Because once money is exposed as a means rather than an end, obsession with accumulation becomes irrational. Hoarding money without purpose, he argued, is like collecting keys without owning doors. From this insight, Al-Ghazali redefined wealth itself. True wealth, he argued, is sufficiency, having enough to meet one's genuine needs without excess that corrodes character and destabilizes society. Wealth is not abundance. It is balance. Poverty, on the other hand, is not simply low income. It is uncontrolled desire. A person with little who is content, Al-Ghazali wrote, is richer than someone with vast resources but endless wants. When desire expands without limit, even immense wealth feels inadequate. This was not abstract spirituality. It was a systemic diagnosis. Al-Ghazali observed that when societies celebrate accumulation without moral boundaries, three consequences inevitably follow. Desire grows faster than resources. Inequality hardens into rigid hierarchies. And ethical limits collapse under the pressure of profit. Markets, he warned, begin to serve greed rather than human need. He was not opposed to trade or profit. On the contrary, he believed markets were essential for social cooperation. But he identified a critical breaking point, when profit becomes detached from moral purpose. He criticized hoarding essential goods to manipulate prices. He condemned exploiting scarcity for personal gain. He warned against lending practices that prey on desperation. And most importantly, he cautioned against treating money itself as a commodity, rather than a facilitator of real economic activity. Debt, in particular, alarmed him. Debt, he argued, turns the future into collateral. It enslaves the mind before it enslaves the body. A society that normalizes living on borrowed tomorrow creates permanent insecurity, even in times of material abundance. Centuries later, this insight would echo through consumer credit systems, national debt crises, and financial collapses. Al-Ghazali saw the fallout clearly. Desire is engineered to grow faster than income. Debt bridges the gap temporarily, and the sense of poverty becomes permanent, even amid abundance. Al-Ghazali predicted this pattern centuries ago. When desire is infinite and resources are finite, poverty becomes a permanent condition, regardless of how rich a society becomes. We have more goods, more technology, and more financial instruments than ever before, yet contentment feels rarer. Security feels fragile. Trust feels eroded. This is not a failure of growth. It is a failure of definition. Al-Ghazali leaves us with 3 enduring lessons. First, wealth is not measured by accumulation, but by sufficiency. Without redefining what enough means, no level of growth will ever satisfy society. Second, poverty cannot be solved by money alone. Without disciplining desire, financial abundance produces psychological deprivation. Third, markets require moral boundaries. Without ethical limits, profit undermines the very stability it depends on. His warning still hangs over us today. If a society becomes materially rich but spiritually bankrupt, has it truly progressed? And if we continue chasing wealth without redefining its purpose, are we building prosperity or accelerating toward a more advanced form of poverty? If this perspective challenged how you think about money, success, and progress, reflect on it and share it with someone who believes wealth is just a number. Subscribe for deeper stories where history exposes the hidden patterns shaping our modern world. Because sometimes the future isn't found in innovation but in wisdom we ignored long ago.